I'm gonna stand up for my fucking self because I'm tired of everybody playing with me, bro. Real shit.
Roger might go to jail. He might get banned off Kick too.
It all started with nothing more than an empty beer can. That's the craziest part. A simple joke, the kind wrestlers have used for years to get a laugh from the crowd, somehow turned into one of the worst viral scandals combat sports has seen in years. One beer can, one small backstage decision, and according to reports, it caused a chain reaction that ended with an arrest, a stretcher, and Rampage Jackson's entire reputation being dragged through the mud. If you're wondering how something so small could explode into something this big, get ready. Because this story shows that in the wrong hands, even the smallest thing can start a huge fire.
He's not a worker, bro. Calm down.
Yeah, what was that?
You're good, you're good, you're good, you're good.
What's that?
You don't sell it?
Dude, he's not a bro.
Hold on.
Now, let's go back to who we're really talking about here, Rampage Jackson. Most people only know him as Rampage's son, but people on the inside say Raja has spent years trying to make his own name in the fight world. At 25 years old, he's trained in MMA, practiced with pros, and built a small following streaming on Kick with his famous dad. He only fought once as a professional and lost his first fight, but he still has real skills. He knows how to wrestle, how to strike, and most importantly, he knows the difference between fake punches and real ones. That difference is at the heart of this scandal, because on that night in Los Angeles, reports say Raja ignored everything he'd ever been taught about control. Instead of keeping the line between acting and reality, he crossed right over it, and thousands of people watched it happen live. The place where this disaster happened was Knox Pro Wrestling, the small wrestling company run by WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi. Think small venue, excited crowd, low budget, but a big love for storytelling. Raja wasn't even supposed to fight. He wasn't scheduled to wrestle. He was just there backstage, cameras rolling for his kick stream, hanging out with Rampage. That's when, according to people who were there, local wrestler Stuart Smith, better known as Psycho Stu, made the mistake that started everything. Stu is an Army veteran who, according to reports, uses wrestling to help deal with PTSD. He's not a superstar, but he's respected locally for his toughness. Seeing Raja backstage with cameras on, Stu thought he was part of the show. So he pulled a classic wrestling joke, smashed a fake beer can over Raja's head. To wrestlers, this is nothing. An empty can, a little sound effect, no harm done. But sources say Raja's reaction wasn't laughter. His body language changed instantly. He wasn't amused, he was angry. And while Stu apologized over and over, telling him it was just part of the act, you could see it in Raja's face. He wasn't letting it go. By itself, that moment could have ended there. A handshake, an apology, some laughs later on. But instead, the promoters made the big mistake of turning it into part of the storyline.
I appreciate it.
I didn't know. I thought you were
I get it.
We're gonna work it out. Well, he's gonna come out on your mat, too. I know you keep thinking we're working. We're always working.
I get it. Yeah. I get it now. Now
You know what I'm saying, Oz? We're always working. So we'll set it up. I'll have him come out during your mat so we could do the whole thing and we'll make something out of it. You know what I'm saying?
They told Raja he could get his payback in the ring. For an experienced wrestler, that means fake fun. For Raja, it meant something else entirely. That's when things really started to go wrong. When Raja stepped into that Knox Pro ring, the crowd thought they were about to see a funny ending. Wrestling fans are used to these moments. The outsider who got embarrassed backstage gets invited in, throws a few soft shots, maybe hits a slam and walks away to cheers. But people at the event say you could feel something different in Raja's body language. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't winking at the crowd. He walked in stiff, focused, like a fighter on his way to a real fight. The mood shifted from playful to uncomfortable. And then, in 1 second, the line between sports entertainment and real fighting was gone. Instead of fake punches or a gentle takedown, Raja shot in with a real wrestling move. This wasn't play fighting, this was a trained MMA fighter using his real skills. He lifted Stu, turned him, and slammed him headfirst into the mat with real force. The sound was awful. Fans thought at first it was just a big wrestling move, but when Stu's body went limp, it became clear this wasn't fake. Reports say Raja didn't stop there. He got on top of Stu and threw more than 20 hard punches. No holding back, no acting, just raw, full-power shots. Stu's arms weren't up. He wasn't defending himself. His body moved in a way that made the audience gasp. And yet Raja kept punching, face twisted with anger, ignoring the screams from ringside. Even the referee hesitated, unsure if it was scripted. That confusion cost important seconds, and Raja only got more violent. By the time other wrestlers and security rushed into the ring, the energy in the building had completely collapsed. People who had been cheering just minutes earlier sat in shocked silence. Some fans cried, others shouted for someone to stop it. And the most scary part? This wasn't just in front of a few hundred people, it was streaming live. Raja had cameras rolling for Kick, and within seconds, clips were flooding Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. According to industry reports, the video got more than 500,000 views in under an hour. The comments were brutal. Wrestling fans called it attempted murder. MMA fans said Raja was disgracing martial arts. Even regular viewers were shocked, saying it was one of the ugliest things they'd ever seen inside a ring. The reaction was immediate. Kick permanently banned Raja's channel, removing the stream from their platform. But by then, it was too late. The footage had been clipped and reposted across the internet. Nox Pro rushed to put out a statement calling it a wrestling move gone wrong, but nobody believed it. The evidence was too raw, too violent, too real. Paramedics rushed to the ring, put Stu on a stretcher unconscious, and took him to a local hospital. Hours later, reports confirmed he was stable, but had a concussion with serious injuries. But for many who saw it, the damage wasn't just physical, it was emotional. That small wrestling show went from entertainment to horror in seconds, and people in the building say they'll never forget the scary silence that hung over the crowd once Raja was finally dragged away. The next disaster happened faster than anyone expected. Just hours after the clips went viral, law enforcement confirmed what fans had already been demanding online. Rampage Jackson had been officially arrested. Police reviewed the footage, talked to witnesses, and decided this wasn't a messed up wrestling angle. It was, in their words, a criminal assault. According to reports, he was arrested on charges of battery and could face worse charges depending on how bad Stu's medical results turn out. And in California, serious assault isn't just a light punishment. It can mean years of prison time. For a 25-year-old who hadn't even built a career yet, this wasn't just a setback. It was a cliff. But the spotlight didn't just land on Raja, it shifted immediately to his father, Quinton Rampage Jackson. Rampage is a legend. Pride veteran, UFC champion, even Hollywood actor. His name carries weight in both MMA and pop culture. So when word spread that his son had been arrested, all eyes turned to him for a response. People on the inside say Rampage was actually live streaming when he first heard the news. You could see him pause mid-sentence, go pale, and suddenly shut down the stream. Hours later, he tweeted his explanation, that it was a wrestling move gone wrong. He said Stu had hit Raja with a can unexpectedly, that his son was told to get payback in the ring, and that things got out of hand. Rampage even added that Raja had suffered a concussion days earlier in training and shouldn't have been doing anything physical at all. On the surface, it sounded like a father defending his kid. But fans weren't buying it. "We saw the footage," one viral comment read. "That wasn't a misunderstanding, that was a beatdown." Others accused Rampage of damage control, twisting the story to protect his son. And the way he started, by calling it misinformation, rubbed many the wrong way. Instead of taking responsibility, people felt like he was downplaying a near-fatal attack. Even though Rampage later posted a more apologetic follow-up, the damage was done. His first response became the headline, and critics jumped on it as an example of denial. Meanwhile, the internet split into blame games. Some argued this was on Rampage for poor parenting, claiming Raja's temper showed a lack of discipline at home. Others turned their anger toward Kick, saying the platform had created a toxic culture where young men felt pressure to go too far for views. Wrestling people blamed Nox Pro for letting an untrained outsider enter the ring in the first place. But underneath all of that noise, one fact remained. Stu had already apologized, a handshake had been exchanged, and Raja still chose to stay angry about it than unleash in front of a live audience. Sources close to the locker room said wrestlers were furious, calling for Raja to be banned permanently. MMA figures spoke up too, reminding fans that martial arts is built on discipline and respect. Two things Raja showed none of that night. The result? A rare moment of agreement. Wrestling fans, MMA fans, and casual viewers all agreed Raja crossed every line. The internet wasn't divided over this scandal. It was united in anger. And that unity only added pressure on prosecutors, promoters, and even Rampage himself to respond. The shockwaves didn't stop at Raja's arrest. If anything, that was just the beginning. Within days, people on the inside say Knox Pro wrestlers began pushing for Raja to be banned from every small promotion in the country. "This isn't wrestling," one performer told local reporters. "This was a criminal assault dressed up like a storyline for an industry built on trust, where every body slam, every chair shot, every wrestling move only works if your opponent trusts you not to actually hurt them." Raja's actions felt like betrayal. He wasn't just reckless, he was dangerous. And word spread quickly that no locker room wanted him anywhere near their shows again. In the MMA world, the reaction was just as strong. Fighters who knew Rampage personally voiced disappointment, calling Raja's attack a disgrace to the sport. According to multiple reports, several gyms even cut ties, saying they wanted no connection with someone who used training to assault an unarmed opponent. For martial artists, control isn't optional. It's the foundation. Raja's meltdown destroyed that foundation in front of the world. And when fighters and wrestlers, groups who rarely agree on anything, all come together to condemn someone, you know the backlash has reached a fever pitch. Then came the personal cost to Rampage himself. Fans who once celebrated his larger-than-life personality now flooded his social media with criticism. "Your son almost killed a man," one tweet read, "and you called it a wrestling move gone wrong?" For Rampage, who built a career on toughness, charisma, and sometimes chaos, this was a nightmare. Industry people noted that sponsors who had once partnered with him were suddenly quiet. Commentators debated whether his legacy, once defined by amazing knockouts and blockbuster fights, would now always carry a mark: the father of Raja Jackson. That may sound unfair, but in the court of public opinion, guilt by association is often stronger than evidence itself. And yet, the darkest irony of all was Stu's role in the aftermath. Here was an Army veteran who reportedly turned to wrestling to cope with PTSD, a man who found healing in the performance of a violent art. Instead of release, he ended up unconscious on a stretcher because someone else couldn't separate show from reality. Sources close to the small wrestling scene said wrestlers were horrified not just by Raja's actions, but by what it meant for guys like Stu, who trusted the ring as a safe space to perform. That trust was shattered, and once trust is gone, it's almost impossible to rebuild. The legal side only added more fuel. Prosecutors began hinting that serious assault was on the table, depending on Stu's recovery. That meant Raja could be looking at years, not months, of consequences. For fans watching the story unfold, it felt less like a scandal and more like a slow-motion train wreck. Each new update piled more weight on the Jackson name, and the question shifted from "what happened" to "how bad is this going to get before it's over?" As the dust settled, one thing became clear. Raja Jackson's meltdown wasn't just a headline, it was a turning point. In the short term, reports say Raja is facing multiple counts of assault, with prosecutors thinking about whether the violence shown on video justifies serious charges. Legal experts told news outlets that if Stu's injuries prove lasting, brain damage, post-concussion issues, or long-term trauma, Raja could be looking at years behind bars. Best case, probation, community service, required anger management. Worst case, a prison sentence that erases any chance of building a career. For someone who is already struggling to step out from his father's shadow, this incident might have slammed the door shut for good. But the long-term consequences go far beyond Raja himself. Rampage Jackson, a man once celebrated as a Pride icon and UFC champion, now finds his name dragged into a story he never asked for. People on the inside say promoters whisper about him backstage, sponsors go silent, and fans flood his mentions with reminders of the beer can incident. The unfair reality of the internet is that Rampage's decades of accomplishments can be overshadowed by one night of his son's recklessness. Some fans defend him, pointing out that Rampage didn't throw a single punch and shouldn't be blamed for his adult son's mistakes. But others insist the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And in an era where perception can be just as damaging as reality, Rampage's brand is hurt, whether he deserves it or not. Meanwhile, Stu's story has become the emotional heart of the scandal. Here was a veteran performing for small crowds to find peace, suddenly turned into the victim of a real-life assault in the very space meant to heal him. Reports suggest he's recovering, but the trauma isn't just physical. Wrestlers backstage have said this incident shattered the trust that holds their world together. Wrestling is built on one rule: protect your opponent. When someone violates that code so publicly, it doesn't just end their own career. It creates ripples that make everyone more cautious, more fearful, and more divided. Raja didn't just hurt one man, he hurt an entire community's sense of safety. And then there's the cultural conversation. On Reddit, TikTok, and X, fans keep coming back to the same scary thought. What happens when someone with real combat training decides to use it irresponsibly? Raja's attack is now a warning story. Coaches, fighters, and promoters are pointing to it as the perfect example of why discipline matters. Because without discipline, skill becomes a weapon. And once the footage is out there, there's no taking it back. For better or worse, Raja Jackson will now be remembered not as Rampage's son chasing a career, but as the man who blurred the line between performance and violence in the worst way possible. So here's the question for you. Is Raja's story one of bad parenting, toxic internet culture, or just a young man who lost control? Drop your theories in the comments. Hit that like button if this story shocked you. And don't forget to subscribe for more Hollywood and combat sports scandals that the mainstream won't show you. And if you thought this was wild, click here, because the next story makes this look tame.